Alright, so I thought I'd give my UFC 273 picks here in this video. I'm just going to go through the main card. I'm not really going to go through, the prelim fights or, the rest of the undercard fights because I'm not really interested in those. But I'm going to go through, just the first three or the last three fights that are going to take place. So that would be Khamzat Chimaev versus Gilbert Burns, Aljamain Sterling versus Petr Yan, and Alexander Volkanovski versus the Korean Zombie. So without further ado, let's get into it. So Khamzat Chimaev versus Gilbert Burns. I'm going Chimaev with this one. You know what I mean? I just think he's too big. He's too tall and too skilled for someone like Burns. When Burns fought Wonderboy, I was so baffled by that performance because, I thought Burns was gonna do I thought he was gonna go out there and land these huge bombs on Wonderboy, you know what I mean, and sort of make it tough for Wonderboy to, hit someone as short as Burns, or even when he would take Wonderboy down, I thought he was gonna try and submit him or something, but instead he just spent the whole fight laying and praying on Wonderboy, you know what I mean, and I'll be honest, as a Wonderboy fan, it was frustrating to watch, but it was just one of those things. It was just a boring fight. It was a very tactical fight, and I just didn't expect that performance from Burns. You know what I mean? It looked like he was just too scared to get knocked out by Wonderboy or something. I didn't know really what was going through Burns' mind. You know what I mean? But anyway, the thing is with Khamzat, you could also argue that Khamzat's not fought anyone in the UFC. He's only fought low-level opposition and no one who's a worthy contender, which, I agree with, I can agree with that, but at the same time, he did have a tough fight, or not a tough fight, but a good fight, a good win over this one, I guess he was a Sambo wrestling champion, or something like that. Again, I don't know much about, the grappling world, so I could be wrong, but it was someone like that. I can't remember the guy's name. I'll pop it up on the screen so that you guys can see, because I can't remember right now, but, Khamzat, he was able to put him out within one round, you know what I mean, and that's pretty impressive considering he was a champion, you know what I mean, maybe not a UFC champion or an MMA champion, but, a good champion nonetheless, right, so, that's not, a bad win necessarily, but yeah, in terms of this fight, I just think, Burns fought at lightweight, you know what I mean, while Khamzat's fought at middleweight before. I just think he's too big, he's too powerful, too skilled from the looks of it, so I'm going with Khamzat Chimaev. Probably by a finish. I don't know how he's going to finish him, you know what I mean, whether it's knockout or submission, but if I really did have to pick a winner in this fight, I'd go with Khamzat. Alright, next up we have Aljamain Sterling versus Petr Yan. So when the first fight happened, I said, okay, I'm gonna go with Sterling, right? The reason I went with Sterling is because, comparing Yan's win to Jose Aldo and Aljamain Sterling's win to Corey Sandhagen, I thought, okay, Sandhagen's was more impressive because the way he just put out Sandhagen within one round like that was, something I didn't expect, right? And I actually picked Sandhagen to beat Sterling when they fought. But when Petr Yan fought Jose Aldo, I expected Yan to really just, finish Jose Aldo quickly. Not that Aldo's bad or anything, but just because of how good Yan was, you know what I mean? But after watching the first fight, it just, I don't know, it looked like that Sterling was, it looked like Sterling was kind of, I don't know, he looked scared or something in the fight. He looked like he was very hesitant, like he was, the nerves got to him or something. You know what I mean? Even though he was pushing forward, he still was, you could tell that he was very cautious about that power and stuff that Yan brought to the table. And, I think, and the way I saw that fight, I thought, okay, well, if Sterling gets Yan to the ground, then it's going to be over, right? And he's going to submit Yan. But the way Yan was the one taking down Aljamain Sterling, it was, he just beat him completely at his own game. He was out striking him. He was out grappling him. And then obviously Yan threw that illegal knee, which, made it a disqualification win for Aljamain Sterling. Right? So I mean, Aljamain, to be fair to him, he did have some like moments. Excuse me. He did have some moments in that fight, but that's all they really were just moments. You know, he didn't really capitalize on certain situations. You know, I think Jan was also just too skilled for him, and I think the same thing's gonna happen in this second fight. You know, Sterling's coming off like a year layoff now. I think that's the case. While Jan has fought Corey Sandhagen, right? You know, and had a very good win against Sandhagen. So I'm going Petr Yan with this fight. I don't know if he's gonna knock out Sterling, but I just don't see it. I don't know. After watching the first fight, I just don't see any instance or any scenario where Sterling can like absolutely win this fight. You know what I mean? Unless he gets like this perfectly timed, choke or submission in or something. But if I had to put money on this one, I'd go with Petr Yan, for sure. All right, main event time. We got Alexander Volkanovski versus the Korean Zombie, and yeah, I am going with Volkanovski on this one, right? A lot of people are basing it off the fact that Volkanovski beat Brian Ortega, who beat the Korean Zombie. I wouldn't look too much into that just because styles make fights, you know what I mean? But in terms of the Korean Zombie, I don't really like. I mean, obviously, I rate his power and stuff, but I also feel like he's one of those fighters who just he's a bit like not a one-trick pony, but he's pretty one-dimensional in my eyes. He's one of those fighters that relies on his chin too much. He's sort of like Justin Gaethje, you know, how Justin Gaethje will, look to just defend shots with his face, you know what I mean, and just not be defensive at all, right? I mean, obviously recently he's getting better with that, but you know what I mean? It's like, I don't like it when fighters do that because, you can tell that they, like, later in their career, that's when they start to get brain damage and stuff. And I think it's the same with the Korean Zombie. I don't really, I think he just relies on, not having a defense by countering with these big shots. You know what I mean? I didn't watch his last fight with Dan Ige. You know what I mean? I heard it went to a decision, but I didn't watch it, so I'm not going to really base anything off that specific fight. But in terms of Alexander Volkanovski, I think Volkanovski maybe doesn't punch as hard as the Korean Zombie, but I also think that he's just got, he's a very, very skilled and elite fighter. I think he has one of the highest fighting IQs in the UFC. I currently have him as, like, pound for pound, number 3, the best fighter in the world at this moment. So I would go with him. I think he's going to win a decision. You know what I mean? I could see him, like, taking the Korean Zombie down to the ground and pounding him, but I don't know. Unless the Korean Zombie can land a big shot and a perfect shot on the chin, I give him a puncher's chance, obviously, but I also just don't see any instance where he can, like, fully dominate Volkanovski skill-wise, and even if he does land a big shot, I mean, Volkanovski's taken big shots in his career. He's shown that he has a good chin against Max Holloway, so, and same thing with Brian Ortega, so I don't know. It's hard to see the Korean Zombie winning this fight. If I had to pick, I'd go with Volkanovski by decision. And those are my picks. So, yeah, I got Khamzat Chimaev, Petr Yan, and Alexander Volkanovski for UFC 273. I think it's going to be a good card. I'm most excited for Khamzat versus Gilbert Burns just because I think that's the more interesting fight of the two. Or of the three, excuse me. But regardless, all fights are going to be entertaining. You know what I mean? Same thing with Sterling and Jan. Obviously, these guys really don't like each other. You know what I mean? So the rematch will be interesting for sure. And and hopefully when Volkanovski, or the winner of Volkanovski versus the Korean Zombie will fight Max Holloway again. I think that'd be an interesting one. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Give me your picks and predictions in the comments below. And it's going to do it for this video. Right, let me know if you want me to do another prediction. I'm gonna do my Dylan White versus Tyson Fury as prediction video soon, as well as my Canelo Alvarez versus Dimitri Bivol prediction as well. But I sort of want to wait on that just so I can, like, how do I explain? Like, I don't know, because it's hard to say. There's certain things I want to say in that video, but I feel like people will take it sort of the wrong way. So I'm just figuring out how to like, sort of translate it into a more, not unbiased, but just it doesn't make it sound like I'm, being like sort of like I want someone to win, because I don't really care with these fights, you know what I mean? But I'm just giving my unbiased prediction in those videos. So but yeah, I'm just trying to set it up in that sort of way. So yeah, but look out for those videos. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Take care and peace.